If these walls could talk. Oh, we can talk. The problem is, no one can hear us. The floor sighed to hear the wall give the same argument as always. Even if they could hear you, what would you tell them? No doubt, the chair spoke. He would complain about the teal color they painted him last month. The wall sniffed in arrogance. Nonsense. I would never lower myself to whining. I would use my power of communication for good. For example, I would have warned the mother of the house before those two young ones got a hold of that bag of wallpaper paste powder years ago. The floor creaked in horror. Oh, good gravy. Do not remind me of that day.
Young ones? There aren't any young ones living here.
The decorative teapot sitting on the bookshelf piped in. There used to be, the chair answered. You only joined the household a few Christmas ago. The couple who lived here had 4 children. It was the oldest two who found the bag of wallpaper paste powder in the cupboard. It was the oldest girl who opened the bag and dumped the powder all over me, groaned the floor. Then she put on her Sunday shoes and began to tap dance in the dust. I still have specks of powders between my wood boards. I know you are irritated, Floor, but not near as angry as the mother was that day, the dresser lamented. Once she came upstairs to check on what all that noise was about, she was furious. As soon as she saw what those two had done, she sent them downstairs.
2?
Questioned the teapot.
I thought you said there were 4 young ones.
Aye, 2. The oldest girl and the oldest boy. They were about age 4 or 3 at the time, the bedroom door sought to explain. The youngest girl had not yet been born and the youngest boy was only a baby. He was downstairs with his mother and the other 2 were up here, playing in their bedrooms. The teapot considered the information the door had given her, then she asked,
Why did you keep a bag of wallpaper paste powder in the children's bedroom?
It wasn't intentional, the dresser answered. The bag had been left there by the previous owners. The mother did not realize it was there when the family moved in. This made the teapot curious about the previous owners, but she wanted to hear the rest of the story about the wallpaper paste powder first.
So, the mother sent the 2 downstairs and then swept the floor?
It wasn't quite that simple, the floor explained. A broom would not get all the fine dust from between my wooden slats, so she had to use the rainbow sweeper. Noticing the confusion of the teapot, the dresser described a rainbow sweeper. It is similar to a shop vac, but it had a water basin to catch the dust instead of a bag. It should have been the ideal tool to use to clean the mess, the wall expounded, but it sent quite a bit of powder into the air, a fact the mother did not realize until she heard the baby coughing. That's right, the dresser agreed. I had forgotten that the mother had put the baby in his crib up here so she could keep an eye on him while she cleaned. Good thing the crib was next to the window. At least, when she opened it, he got some fresh air.
Goodness.
The teapot empathized. Wait, it gets worse, the door cautioned. When she opened the window, the mother started to sweep again, only to be stopped when she heard the noise of the stairs. It was the oldest son, and his hand was dripping blood. The teapot was enthralled.
What happened?
The dresser was also curious. I've often wondered about that. I know what happened, the chair volunteered. In those days, I was downstairs. As a matter of fact, I was the kitchen chair that the boy had been sitting on his time out. The mother told the older 2 to stay put until the hand on the kitchen clock was pointing at the 12. Well, the girl convinced her younger brother that he should climb up on the table and move the hand to the 12 so that they could get up. That girl could always talk him into anything, the door butted in. The chair resumed his tale. The boy climbed on the table and reached out for the clock, but he didn't realize that the clock's face was protected by glass. When he touched it, the glass fell out and broke as it hit the floor. He didn't want to get into trouble, so he picked up the broken glass and threw it into the trash can. He would have gotten away with it if he hadn't cut his hand on the glass. By the time his sister convinced him to show his mother, the blood was everywhere. All that blood sure scared her. She forgot all about the baby in the crib the minute she saw it. She grabbed the bleeding son and hurried down the steps, the door interjected. Yep, the chair agreed. The mother grabbed the cordless phone on her way to the bathroom sink. She had the grandmother's number on speed dial. She was so panicked she could barely speak when the uncle answered.
How do you know it was the uncle on the other end of the phone call?
The teapot questioned. He arrived just a few seconds later. He was still in high school then and lived just a half block away with the grandparents, the chair mused. Years later, I heard him admit that he only heard the words help and blood during the phone call. But it was enough for him to take off at a dead sprint for his sister's house.
Did they have to take the young boy to the hospital?
The teapot asked. No, the chair answered. Once the mother washed his hand off, they discovered the cut was small enough that it just needed a band-aid. Curious, the pot begged for the saga to continue.
What happened next?
The wall was becoming disgruntled with the way that the others were telling the story he had begun, so he jumped into the answer. I can tell you what happened next. The uncle took the boy and the two children into the living room and kept an eye on all three while the mother finished vacuuming the dust from the floor. Unfortunately, the powder had settled into the water basin during the time it took to treat the boy's cut, and the paste had hardened into a lump the size and shape of the basin. Uh-oh, I bet that made the mother nervous, the door interrupted. The family paid quite a bit for that sweeper. It did give her a moment of panic, the wall agreed, until she discovered that the plastic mold was fragile enough to break easily. She was able to crumble it into small pieces that she could remove from the water basin. A low, wheezing voice came from the World Book Encyclopedia that sat adrift from the corner of the room. Actually, it is fortunate for her that the powder formed when it did. If she would have dumped the basin down the drain, it would have hardened in the pipes. All were quiet for a moment as they pictured what would have happened to the pipes in the old house if that had occurred. Finally, the teapot inquired.
So whatever happened to the little girl who instigated the wallpaper paste powder disaster?
The wall and the floor, and the chair answered. She grew up and 20 years later gave her mom a decorative teapot for Christmas.